Clark and Angel Reese are still keeping a close eye on the WNBA's CBA negotiations. These are the issues putting pressure on Cathy Engelbert. Negotiations are ongoing and must be concluded by the end of October or the WNBA risks a lockout. The 2025 WNBA season has concluded, crowning a new champion and shifting attention toward a critical offseason as the spotlight now centers on labor negotiations, with the current collective bargaining agreement expiring on October 31st. Both Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and the WNBA aim for what they describe as a transformational deal. However, reports indicate the two sides remain apart on key economic and operational terms, raising concerns of a possible lockout. Among the primary issues are player compensation and revenue sharing. Players want earnings tied directly to league growth rather than fixed figures, creating a dynamic structure similar to the NBA's basketball-related income model. The players are still adamant that we get a percentage of revenue that grows with the business, WNBA President Nneka Ogwumike said. That's just a part of the conversation. That emphasizes how fairness remains central to negotiations as Phoenix Mercury forward Satis Sabaly echoed that sentiment, saying a recent league offer felt disconnected from the players' role in the WNBA's rise. Under the current deal, team salary caps are predetermined, growing by a modest 3% annually, but players argue this system limits their earning potential even as attendance and franchise valuations have surged since 2021. Because the 2020 CBA began before the pandemic, early revenue projections were skewed. With the wobble season and limited attendance in 2021, teams fell short of growth targets, nullifying mechanisms that could have raised the salary cap. How can TV money impact the CBA negotiations with the WNBA? The new media deal beginning in 2026 adds complexity to the debate as the league's 11-year partnership with Disney, Amazon Prime Video, and NBC Universal is worth around $2.2 billion, potentially reaching $3 billion with future partners. Players see that investment and expansion as validation of the WNBA's financial strength. We're seeing expansion, and the players are just saying, "Hey, let us have our fair share of that," Ogwumike said, noting that growth must reflect in pay as star players such as Clark and Angel Reese have lifted viewership and attendance. Another contentious issue is prioritization, a rule that restricts players from missing WNBA games due to overseas commitments. Many athletes, particularly veterans, depend on international contracts to supplement their income, and Sabaly has voiced concerns that such restrictions limit career flexibility. She explained that players face varying financial realities, making universal enforcement impractical and sometimes harmful to individual livelihoods. It's interesting to hear about the flow of negotiations, Sabaly added. Sometimes you want results right away, but it does take time for both parties to come to the table and really agree on certain things. Negotiations also address transparency in financial reporting. Players have often felt that they lack access to clear revenue data, which complicates efforts to justify demands for greater revenue sharing and higher salaries. Reports suggest the WNBA's recent proposal raises the supermax salary to about $850,000, with veteran minimums near $300,000. While that marks significant progress, many Ogwumike argue the structure still mirrors the old system. Rising franchise valuations have also further fueled frustration. The Las Vegas Aces, purchased for $2 million in 2021, are now worth an estimated $310 million, while the New York Liberty's valuation has soared to around $450 million. Players argue those numbers show how much value they bring to the league. So as negotiations intensify, Engelbert faces pressure to balance financial sustainability with fairness. The spotlight on the WNBA isn't dimming anytime soon, and neither are the voices of its brightest stars. Clark and Angel Reese, two of the league's most dynamic and talked about young talents, aren't just focused on scoring points or grabbing rebounds. They're watching something much bigger unfold, the ongoing collective bargaining agreement, CBA, negotiations that could shape the future of women's basketball for years to come. Behind the glitter of highlight reels and record-breaking viewership, the WNBA stands at a crossroads. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert faces growing pressure from players, fans, and media to ensure that the league's next CBA reflects a new era, one of fairness, opportunity, and sustainability. And few players represent this shift in power and expectation better than Clark and Reese. The new faces of a movement. Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom whose deep threes and unmatched poise have redefined what's possible in women's basketball, isn't just a superstar, she's a brand. Angel Reese, the Bayou Barbie, known for her competitive fire and unapologetic charisma, brings a flair and confidence that resonates with fans far beyond basketball. Together, they've helped usher in a wave of cultural and financial attention the WNBA hasn't seen before. Record jersey sales, packed arenas, and broadcast ratings rivaling major men's sports moments. This new generation of players has changed the conversation. But as Clark and Reese look at the numbers behind the glamour, they're realizing that visibility alone doesn't guarantee equity. The CBA at a turning point. The current CBA, signed in 2020, was once hailed as historic. It introduced higher salaries, improved maternity leave, and better travel conditions. Yet just 5 years later, the league's growth has far outpaced those terms. Clark, Reese, and their peers know it. The league is drawing unprecedented media deals and sponsorships, but player compensation still lags behind. One of the major points of contention? Revenue sharing. Currently, players receive a small percentage of league revenue, nowhere near the 50-50 split seen in the NBA. As the WNBA eyes new TV deals and global expansion, players want their slice to grow proportionally. "We're not asking for miracles," Clark reportedly said during a recent interview. "We're asking for partnership." The travel dilemma. Another issue putting pressure on Cathy Engelbert is travel. Despite strides in recent seasons, WNBA teams still face inconsistent travel conditions, including the controversial ban on full-time charter flights, a rule driven by financial parity between smaller and larger market teams. The debate reignited when Clark's Indiana Fever had multiple flight delays and back-to-back games early in the season. Fans erupted on social media, demanding better conditions for the league's stars. Angel Reese, never one to shy away from speaking her mind, took to X, formerly Twitter, to call out the league's outdated travel standards. "If we're gonna market women's basketball like pros," she wrote, "we need to be treated like pros." Cathy Engelbert has acknowledged these concerns, but solutions are costly and complex. As media and sponsorship deals evolve, the CBA will determine whether the WNBA finally prioritizes comfort and safety at the same level as performance. The overseas question. Another tension simmering in negotiations is the issue of off-season play overseas. Many players still supplement their WNBA income by joining international leagues during the off-season. This has long been both a financial necessity and a physical burden.